The following training is sponsored by the Neoga Library System. We serve our member libraries in Niagara, Orleans, and Genesee counties. You can always visit our main web page listed here at neoga.org, or certainly visit your local library homepage and use your library card to get access to streaming videos, downloadable music, audiobooks, ebooks, and even more from the comfort of your own home. Thank you.
Hello. Okay, so back to normal, back to the regular background, back to looking at this particular screen versus a tablet. But I hope you enjoyed the Hoopla videos. I know it was a little long. I released them because I wanted them out there versus not being out there. But I think I'm going to spend a little more time trying to play around with them. Every time I tried to actually splice all of the videos together, I got an error that I had run out of memory on the computer. So they were apparently really big, and trying to process or render those together for YouTube, it didn't want to work all together. So I simply put them out there in there's like 5 parts to it. So, but with that all being said, let's talk about some of our soft skills opposites. So I had done a whole series on like 10 different soft skills. And what I wanted to do for this week or this time was to go back to the soft skills and kind of look at their opposites, kind of like micromanagement versus delegation. I wanted to see what would be the opposites of things. So what I did was I took a whole list of the soft skills, and I went to my trusty dusty thesaurus and I looked up all of different antonyms for them. So this is the first video going back to kind of soft skills opposites. And my first soft skills video was really communication skills. And so I picked the title of the verses is Fight, Flight, or Freeze. And I actually got that, my first reference here is by Preston Nee, Are You a Poor Communicator? How to Improve? That was from Psychology Today. And I also have something here from reference.com on what are poor communication skills. And so that seemed to be as good a place as any to start. As always, the links are in the description. You can always go back, read the original articles. Absolutely. It's right there. Okay. So when I went to the thesaurus and I looked up the opposite of communication or antonyms, I didn't want to just go with poor communication skills. I did find disagreements, silence, suppression. So I was like, oh, dun, 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 those sound bad. So, but starting with the reference.com blurb on their idea of poor communication, which I thought was very good. Individuals with poor communication skills have difficulties expressing ideas in a way that can be understood by others. In writing, they have different examples for clarification, some grammatical errors in speech. A common issue is neglecting the feelings and emotions of your audience. Poor communication skills make it difficult for an individual to succeed in a business setting where strong reading, writing, and speaking skills are crucial to completing work accurately and efficiently. When an employee on a project team gives confusing or incomplete instructions to coworkers, the end result may be weak in quality. An individual that may make a comment that includes a blanket statement like, you never have any good ideas. We're going to talk about that in a minute. And thus diminishing the person being addressed. And another common oral communication issue includes speaking in a way that makes someone feel like he is being judged or bossed around. And especially for adults, not a good way to go. Building on this particular concept, of course, it's very broad indeed. Again, Preston Nee did a wonderful article. He actually had written a book, but I found the article in Psychology Today, and he says most of us engage in communication every day. Most of us also know that communicating with others can be a difficult and frustrating experience. There are many times, and almost all times, I think most people, we mean well, but because of the way we say things, tact, timing, and tone, talked about that multiple times, our message is misunderstood, and then there's unintended and undesirable consequences for all of that. So he discusses various communication issues we all face from time to time. For example, using the you language plus a directive. Ineffective communication is often characterized by certain types of you language, such as you are, you should, you need to. Directives are statements that either pass negative judgment or order another person around. For some examples, you're not good enough. You should pay attention. You need to do this now. Most people don't like being judged or told what to do. And when you use the you language plus the directives, it's very easy to arouse in others their feelings of defensiveness, resentment. It's hard. This type of communication is also problematic in that it tends to invite a no response. So it arouses almost immediate disagreements and conflicts. So Nee proposes these instead. For example, you can use you positive statements, and they're simply sentences that begin with the word you followed by a positive comment. You did a good job on this project. You have a wonderful personality. You neutral statements are sentences that begin with you followed by factual or informative comment. You're the third person to arrive. You'll find more information out by reading this article or watching the video. In general, there's nothing wrong with using you positive or you neutral. It's the you directive that is ineffective. So, and then universal statements are generally expressions that are used to generalize a person's character, not good, or behavior in a negative way. Most common types of universal statements involve the use of words such as always, never, again, should, every time, everyone. Universal statements are used with you statements, and they are problematic because in the mindset of the speaker, there's no possibility of the listener being any other way. The potential of change is discounted. And although this may not be true, the speaker doesn't feel this way, it is a miscommunication. It's not good. And then second, because universals point out what is wrong instead of how to do things better. So such statements actually really can discourage change. And finally, just as with examples of any other you language earlier, the bad you language, universal statements are easily disputed. Now, another problem that we can see here in the green is you, as a communicator, the communicator is tough on the person, but soft on the issue, the actual problem. In every communication situation involving another person, there are two elements present: the person you're relating to and the issue or behavior that you're addressing. Effective communicators know how to separate the issue or the behavior from the person and be soft on the person and tough on the issue. Ineffective communicators will do the opposite. They literally get personal by being tough on the person while minimizing or ignoring the issue or behavior. So right there in the yellow, ineffective communication, you are so stupid. Effective, a little bit longer, but you're a smart person, but what you did this morning was not very smart. Interestingly, Mr. Nee goes on to say, you may have noticed the use of and instead of but in the examples above. But is a negator that can discount the significance of what is said before and puts the real meaning of the sentence on what comes after. And he puts in, I like you as a friend, but, yes, but, and that oftentimes means no. So if you don't mean to negate the first part of your sentence, and this was really good, use and instead of but. And is a connector which actually places equal value on both sides. Last but not least here is that we do have a tendency to invalidate feelings. This was actually, for me, was huge. When you're teaching anybody new things, a lot of times when patrons are coming into my classes, they already, I'm going to put this in air quotes, they already feel stupid. They're not, but they feel that way. And if I had $1 for every time, oh, my 4-year-old can do this and I can't. No, your 4-year-old can't, not really. So one of the big parts actually of our job as librarians, as teachers, and then especially in the tech area, is to validate feelings, validate that, hey, you've learned other things before. One of my favorite things to say, especially when older adults are talking about like their kids or grandkids, I'll tell them, hey, you taught them how to eat with a spoon. They can be patient with you when they're teaching you your tablet, okay? So, and you're here, you're trying, it's a great time to start. So to take those feelings of frustration that people come in with and definitely acknowledge them, but say, hey, you already have a good foundation. You can build on this and go from there. Really having to be a cheerleader is really quite important. Okay. So he goes on to talk about invalidating feelings. When a person's positive feeling is invalidated, his or her positive feeling will likely diminish or disappear. However, interestingly, when people come in with negative feelings, if you try and brush that aside or you don't say anything about that, like, oh, my 4-year-old can do this and I can't, you say, well, they grew up with it. And, I'll even talk about things like, well, you grew up with a telephone, didn't you? And people will look at me funny and I'll say, I know, but did your grandparents grow up with a telephone? Did and I'll talk about movies and all kinds of other stuff. Oh my goodness. So to validate those feelings, to get those negative feelings, to acknowledge those and say, yes, they're real, but here's what you can do about it. And you've already done it. And here are some examples that you've done it with, and you can do it now too. Game changer when you're talking to people. Okay. So common reactions to ineffective communication. This is any kind, whether it's written, verbal, whether you're reading it, you miscommunicate, tact, timing, and tone. Common reactions to ineffective include the 3 F's. People are more likely to either fight an ineffective communicator. Hello, social media, right? Okay. Take flight from an ineffective communicator, or freeze emotionally when you get emotionally closed off or shut down. So I know this was a little bit longer, but I hope at least if you watch till the end there that it was useful, and I'll see you in the next video.